Theruvan Saranai. We are now telecasting a Dhamma sermon which is being recorded at the Sri Sambodhi Buddhist Meditation Centre in Deckery Road, Plastove in London. This was founded by the late Chief Incumbent of Sri Sambodhi Vihara Temple, Colombo 7, and the founder of the Buddhist Media Network, the Most Venerable Dharanagama Kusala Dhamma Nayaka Thero. Today's sermon will be conducted by the Most Venerable Deegalle Mahinda Thero. Our sponsors for today are Mr. and Mrs. Harishchandra Kirinde and their family and friends, who are residents of London. We now welcome with veneration the Most Venerable Deegalle Mahinda Thero to conduct the sermon. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Samantha Chakravalesu Atra Gachantu Devata Saddhammang Munirajas Sunantu Sagga Mokkadang Dhammasavana Kalo Ayang Badanta Dhammasavana Kalo Ayang Badanta Dhammasavana Kalo Ayang Badanta Namo tassa bhagavatu arahatu samma sambuddhassa Namo tassa bhagavatu arahatu samma sambuddhassa Namo tassa bhagavatu arahatu samma sambuddhassa Arogya paramalabha santuti paramangdanang Vissasa paramanyati nibbhanang paramang sukhang. Dear monks and dear friends, today we gather Sri Saddhatis International Buddhist Center to listen to Dhamma. And our Venerable Agamaha Pandita, Venerable Kalyaya Piyadasi Thero, and the resident monks have made it possible for us to have a Dhamma discussion and sermon today. And we are doing it on the eve of Vesak. And today, our sponsors, people who initiated this initiative are Mr. Harindra Kirinde, Mr. and Mrs. Harindra Kirinde, and the family, and also people who live and their friends in London. And today, in this sermon, in particular, was organized in memory of their 50th anniversary of wedding. So this is quite important. You know, some of us are not even 50 years old, and so this is quite important, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about this a little bit later. But Mr. and Mrs. Harindra Kirinde, they are kind of have reached a very, they need a golden, a golden token for their success. So that's the eve. And also, we want to remember Venerable, the late Venerable Dharanagama Kusala Dhamma Thero. And in the 20th and 21st century, probably Venerable Kusala Dhamma is the greatest Sri Lankan monk that enable Buddhists in Sri Lanka, but as well as Buddhists who are in abroad, to listen to Dhamma. We did not have facilities earlier to listen to Dhamma to this extent. So Venerable Kusala Dhamma Thero began the Buddhist TV, founded it, and it is quite hard task. And we know that even the government of Sri Lanka, when Mr. Late President Jayawardena started the Rupavahini, it took many years to have a full program, let alone 24 hours, but to make even 6 hours TV program, it was difficult even for the government, And can you imagine the contribution which Venerable Kusaladhamma Thero has done, Venerable Kusaladhamma Thero has done in a temple in urban Colombo, and being able to start a television and radio at one time is a great achievement. Of course, we missed him. Of course, he lived longer. He would have done more for us. Unfortunately, that's the way things are. Everything is impermanent. So we want to remember, and we want to be thankful and grateful to Venerable Kusaladhamma Thero. And there are some other people that we want to mention about the Venerable Piyadatha Thero and so on. I'm going to mention them at the end. So, thank you very much for coming today here on a Sunday evening to this temple in London. And with the blessings of Venerable Piyadatha, we are going to spend another 45 minutes, 50 minutes to discuss Dhamma. And the verse, the Pali verse that I recited, Arogya Paramalabha, Santutti Paramandanam, Vissasa Paramanyati, Nibbānam Paramansukam. So that's my title today. Of course, the language is Pali, and most people know this verse. It's found in Dhammapada. It's a verse 204. And so this verse found in the section called Sukhavagga, the section on happy. So this verse found in the Dhammapada in the Sukha section. So Sukha means happiness. Now, what is interesting is the translation is, so Arogya, we know the term, that means being free from disease, sickness. So that means having a good health is the best profit. That's labha. We always think about profit. Of course, we don't think about health when we think about profit. So here, it is quite interesting that the first part of the verse mentioned the profit. What kind of profit it is. So now, from the Buddha's point of view, the best profit for us is our health, our good health. We should not forget it. Everything depended on our good health. And if we cannot live longer, then we are going to miss everything. We are going to miss everything, even to attain enlightenment, and we may not be able to do any meritorious deeds. But we rarely focus on our health. Only when we come to old age, when we are not able to move and when we are not able to do things, then we regret. So especially for the young people. So here the people who have not reached middle age must think about this. So we could do many things, but the best thing is our health. Our pure body, our functioning of our organs, and keeping your skin and body and your hair, and all sorts of things are very important. I'm not saying that I am becoming worldly by saying it, but this verse, Buddha would have said, we always talk about labha, we talk about, when you talk about profit, we talk about money and all sorts of things, the land and so on. But actually, Buddha's point of view is not the profit, the ultimate profit. If you wanted to have it, you have to focus on your life, your body, your way of life. And that's the most important thing. And if you ask anybody who is recently, actually, there was a newspaper article about a couple in Kuruvita, and the couple is about 70 years old. Both the man and the woman go to athletic competitions abroad, and they have many, over 100 medals they have won. Even at that age, at 80 or 70, they run. And this gentleman has run from Ratnapura Road all the way to Sripada, about 47 miles without stopping from there. So it's kind of record. And then this gentleman has run from Kuruvita to Kataragama. It's about 114 miles within 20 hours, and nobody has broken that record. 70 years old. Think. The secret is that they have taken care of their body. So Arogya Paramalabha, that's the very important one. Our health, our body is the ultimate profit, the best profit that we can have. That's the Buddha point out at the first item. And then second one, so this may be a little bit my interpretation here. The first one about our body, our how we take care of it. The second part, Santutti Paramandanam. Dhanam means the wealth, Parama means ultimate, and Santutti means happiness. Happiness and kind of contentment or whatever. So that's taken as the second profit. Second, or the actual translation would be happiness is the ultimate wealth or the highest wealth. Now, when we think about wealth, we think many things. And when we think about wealth, we always trying to measure it, how many pounds we have in our bank account, how much gold we have in our house. That's the kind of the way we think about it. But the thing is that the Buddha pointed out, actually, the wealth is not all that. And that's also inside us. That's called Santutti, happiness. So that's also interesting. So the earlier, the profit is with you're taking care of your health. And then the ultimate wealth is also how you create an environment where you can be happy. And that's very important. There's no point having a miserable life. The Buddhism is not for the miserables. Yeah? Shouldn't be. Buddhism should not be for the miserables. And Buddhism should not be for the people who are sulky. Buddhism should not be people who are disappointed and have sad faces. I mean, look, when we meet people, when you look at their eyes, when you look at their faces, what you see? Wrinkles, sadness, worn out, eyes tired. Yeah? And how many of us have a beautiful smile? Very few. Very rare. Even within 24 hours, how many times we can smile well, laugh well? I think this is something we have to reflect. Being able to have this happiness within us, being able to enjoy our food, enjoy our life, and to dress well and do our things wholeheartedly, being content. That's very important. It's a personal achievement. So here, Santutti Paramandana, Buddha refers to, our happiness is the most important one. That's also very subjective. It's not your wife or husband, your children or grandchildren or friends. That's not what brings you happiness. Happiness is within you, and we have to, each moment, we have to try to or attempt to make happiness within us. So that also refers to human beings, not anybody else. So this is interesting. So the first one, good health. The second one, having happiness. So think, if you have those two, your life is very successful. You have achieved what you want to achieve because you are happy, and also you have a healthy body as well as mind. Because mind is related with happiness. If your mind is not healthy, you cannot be happy. So they are quite related. So here it's quite interesting. The profit and the wealth, Buddha is spoken in a very subjective term. having the good health and having happiness. Then the third one is the most important one. So the first two talks about us, and the second one says Viswasa Paramanyati. Nyati means relative. Paramanyati, that's the best friend. Yeah? Viswasa, that's the Sinhalese word for trust, sincerity, kind of trustworthiness that you can build. And that's taken as the third one. Now here we could see this element. It's very, very important. And now the third one, we go beyond ourselves to the society, and this may be where these Kirin, Mr. and Mrs. Kirin, this life is very important. They have celebrating 50 years of wedding anniversary. Of course, people get married, but in Sri Lanka, usually mothers are very worried, and the photographers are very worried, videographers are very worried, and these people want their money in advance of the wedding in Sri Lanka. Now everybody wants to take photographs and so on. None of them photograph you in Sri Lanka unless you pay full before the wedding. The reason is people back off the day before, even early in the morning, the wedding, and the weddings do not last more than 24 hours. This is becoming a reality in Sri Lanka, and so that means wedding is kind of a very important event, but people are not ready for it. So there's a lot of uncertainty. But then, given that respect, having a couple like Kirin this, being able to spend 50 years in wedlock, that's something they need to be congratulated and blessed. Yeah, and the children and the grandchildren also could be proud, and also people who associate them could be proud that they were able to live together. Of course, maybe those two things true in them, having good health as well as happiness. So if you don't have the happiness in your marriage, it will not last. The love is important, affection is important, but if you are not happy, it cannot be sustained. So this one, for the relationship, this viswas is important, because if you work in an organization like charity or temple committee or school organization or whatever, the first thing that you are disappointed is not having a trustworthiness. That's the one that disappoints you as a person. And not having the trust, not being able to trust people, not being able to people who do what they say they will do, if they don't do it, it's very disappointing. And so this, we talk about relatives, Nyati, always as born from your mother or father, your siblings and the granddaughters, and actually they are biological relatives, but they are not really friends. They are not really who are going to rescue you. They may be biologically related. Look, the variation that you have even within a family, if you have 7 or 8 siblings, they at least they don't agree with each other, and sometimes they want their parents to die quickly, so they wanted to inherit all the property and other things. It's real, and if you look at the newspapers, you see that. So here, the biological relationship is not what makes your relations, your relatives. They are not the real actually your relative. Your relatives are someone who understands you, and someone who you can depend on, someone who come to rescue you in your crisis. Now that's the real friend. And also, we all do a lot of things. We teach, we organize things and festivals and so on. And people around you, if they are not trustworthy or not trusting, and if you cannot depend on them, you cannot go further. And all of your achievements become very unsuccessful. Because I think in life, beyond you, any relations depend on trustworthiness, viswasa. That's so. If you think about this, is where I think it's not only Sri Lanka but any society. I mean, if you want to improve and so on, we have to build the trustworthiness. We should be able to trust people. We don't have to sign necessarily contract like wedding contract, like marriage contract. That's, of course, you would do it, but that's not really what matters. Being able to trust each other. Take somebody's word 100%. There's no compromise. If you promise to come 3 o'clock, you show up at least 5 minutes before, not half an hour later. Yeah. If you're assigned to do something, you do it on that time. And suppose if you borrow money, if you borrow money, if you promise to give it back within a week, you give them within that week. Yeah? So this is very important, because in our society, this is called what you call reliability. Being able to rely upon someone has declined significantly. Now in Sri Lanka, can you trust politicians? Can you trust certain public figures? It's not always possible. Trustworthiness has declined, and that's why societies like Sri Lanka, not only Sri Lanka, but other societies also declining because we cannot trust people. So the viswasa is the most important one in social life, family life, as well as other things. So our progress all depend on trust. So the people that we know, if they are reliable, then we progress. And otherwise, there's a Sinhalese expression, Gangata kapana ini wage kiyala. Ini is the little post, wood that if you're a farmer, you need them to plant beans and others. But if you cut those wood, branches of the wood, and then put them on the water, they are not going to last. They are going to wash away. So if we don't have the viswasa or the trustworthiness, all our things that we do become very unsuccessful. This is quite interesting. So the first one is health, second one is happiness, third one is trustworthiness. Yeah, and the trustworthiness is your best friend. So that means we have to do what we promise. We have to abide. So you should not promise if you cannot deliver. You cannot say it's not today, it's tomorrow. Tomorrow is never going to come. So this is very foundational, I think. So Buddha has identified being able to trust, reliability as the most important one, as the best relative. It's not your brother or sister. So that's also interesting when you look at it. Why our political system, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, and so on, all of these countries, India, Pakistan, if you look at it, you see why these countries have failed, because they give priority to relatives, your brother, sister, and so on. If you can appoint your brother to a company as a chairman if he is good, but if he is not, you should not appoint. You should appoint a professional to do that. And so you could see the crisis that in our societies, it's not in Sri Lanka, but in other societies also. So this blood, being blind with your blood relationship is a disaster and inviting for trouble. And our political system and so on has become corrupted or seen as corrupted by outsiders because of that. Because you appoint people who are disqualified. People who cannot even run a home, you appoint to run the railway station, the airlines, and the banks, and so on. And this is quite interesting. So the Buddha correctly says, Viswasa Paramanyati, your best relative is not your biological relatives, but reliability, the people who can trust. So we don't have to criticize, but it's very interesting one. Now, the last one, Nibbanam Paraman Sukham. We all hear about it, and we always wanted to attain nirvana. So the attaining nirvana is the last happiness. Of course, we can agree on it, but that's ultimate one. Because if you fulfill these three, having good health, if you have happiness, and then if you are able to work well because people around you are trustworthy, then automatically you're on the right track. You are automatically on the right track to attain enlightenment. So the way the society moves, and not only our society but even here, you get sometimes upset. I travel in the train. Like today, when I was coming in the train, two people were sitting in front of me on the other side on the quiet carriage, and they had, drank coffee, but all that coffee is on the table, and they didn't clean it after they got down from Paddington. And I want to point it out, but I didn't. But the thing is that public decency, that may be the word to use it, public decency. Because when we step out from our house, it's a public area, whether it's the bus, the train, school, temple, and so on. So in these public places, you need minimal standards. You need minimal standards that we should be responsible, and we should not put our legs on the train seats, bus seats, chairs, and so on. It's unacceptable. Of course, if you could do it if it is your home, but none of these public property is yours. It's the nation's resources in whichever country you are in. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that public decency has gone down, and that also can be explained as one of the important ingredient of lack of development. And this includes the temple. It's very important when you come to temples and so on, clean them very well, bathrooms and so on, kitchens and so on, and you have to do it more than in your house. So the public decency is going out, and that's very bad. And so you get irritated. So the Buddhism basically says that we have to be careful. Buddha was very systematic. For the monks, he told many things, and he talked even about what you do when you go to toilet, how you use the water, whether you should leave the water there and so on. So the Buddha was very concerned about public decency. That's the one which is very important for any society, especially for a Buddhist. We have to learn. We have to improve public decency. We have to improve it, because then the Buddhist values are transferred to the culture, and public decency is very important. So the Buddha always talks about the monks. Buddha was very peculiar. Buddha was very clear that you should not ordain someone who is ugly. You should not ordain someone who is crooked, and things like that. Buddha was very specific about how you present someone in public. Public figure. Buddha was very, and then there are discipline rules about eating. How you should eat and how you should behave, and you should not speak while you have food in your mouth. Reason is obvious, yeah? But if you speak while you are having food, by accident, you can throw that some food in the plates in front of you, or in the plate of the neighbor, or the one. It's very easy, yeah? And also, when you speak like that, sometimes that odor coming from your mouth, if you have a bad smell or something, all that come out. And Buddha was very, very specific about this, how you should eat. You should not make noises when you eat, things like that. So here what you see is that Buddha was very concerned about the public decency. So here, I think what I was trying to say is that some people feel that Buddhism is old-fashioned. I think young people sometimes think that it's outdated too. Actually, that feeling young people get because we do not guide them. So there's a lot of responsibility of the elderly people too. Sometimes we find it out, like the one I saw on the train, not cleaning the mess that you make in the train table. Of course, these young people do it, but actually the fault may be in their parents. Parents didn't teach them. Public decency comes from parents. So they may have trouble with their children. I may not have the person to witness it. I'm not related to them. So the parents and the teachers who associate them should have corrected them. But they haven't done them. So it's easy for us to point the finger to young people and say they are terrible and bad. Of course, I also say that. But at the same time, we have to think about how we do it, and then we have to correct them. So there is a responsibility about increasing public decency, and that is not it's not a blame game that the blame game ends nowhere. It doesn't benefit anybody. But what we have to do is, I think what we need as a society, Buddhist society, as Buddhist, we have to be self-critical. We have to be critical. Because it's quite interesting. I got a letter, kind of last night or day before, and it I'm going to show it. I'm going to show it to you. So I'm going to find that quotation for you. Let's see. So this may be kind of a little bit criticism. So these say, let's see. So these are kind of, you have to take it with some salt and the spices to understand this. And somebody out of blue, without any contact, wrote me an email like yesterday, and this is what she wrote to me. I find most Buddhist people I know are very proud, look down or even on their own siblings. They are wicked and cruel, selfish, take advantage of being the adults, set bad examples for the younger ones, ignorant, and also lie. Yet, they visit the temples, attend to holy pujas, offer dhanas, invite monks to their homes to hold pirit ceremonies, but believe in myths and devas who could help to gain them wealth and pass exams or arrange good marriages, and they think they are holy. Isn't it sinful to behave immorally? So that's the kind of quotation. It's not my word. And this is an email that I got yesterday, and I thought that is very useful that I was able to use it. Now here, of course, I don't know why someone has to be so critical about Buddhists, but it's very clear here there are problems in our system. No system is free of fault. No system is completely, protected fully from negative elements. And now here is a good reflection, and it seems like a strong critique of the group who are called Buddhists. She may be right, she may not be right, but if we are wise, we have to reflect upon it. We have to reflect upon it. And yesterday, some of you know that I am kind of interested in the Buddha, that Buddha's visit to Sripada. If you haven't climbed it, do it before you die at least once. You know what it is, what you miss. Yeah. So I'm interested in Sripada, and I was preparing for this sermon yesterday, and then I had a book. It was written in 1934, by Venerable Makuluduwe Piyaratana, who was in Kohuala. And he wrote it. The book's name is called Sripada Pravrutti. So I was reading it. And there, the monk mentioned many things. And one of the things he says about the pilgrims who go to Sripada, what they are like. And of course we know that when we go to Sripada, even before we go, we call it pevenawa. That means that we prepare ourselves before we go, like not eating meat and not thinking negative things and kind of purifying yourself and so on. And then we use the specific word with regard to Sripada pilgrimage. We call it karuna karana. This is a very nice word. We call it karuna karla isarahata yanna. So we ask people to go forward, but nobody in the bus goes inside the bus. Yeah, you always say karuna karla vidipasata kila indaganda. Please go and sit, but nobody goes. Even so we use this word karuna karla means you can broadly. I don't know, people may not know it. Broadly, karuna karana means related with kindness. Kindness. Or with compassion. So karuna karla bus එකේ ඇතුළට යන්න with kindness, please move backward. Listen, all are deaf like elephants. You see that? Yeah. So here, what is interesting is that when we go to Sripada, people always, their language change. The language that we use change. And, when you climb the mountain, you have to climb over 5,000 or 7,000, depending on the road, steps. And when you want to tell that you are climbing up, you call it karuna karana. Api karuna karana, api padmeta karuna karana, sripada karuna karana. So that's the word we use. And when you come down, you say api karuna karana. So coming down also karuna karana. And it's a very interesting terminology. And then when you go on the pilgrimage, people make jokes or have a little bit fun, and that's also used in the word karuna karana. Now here, the monk who was writing about in 1934, and this is not the first time, and I thought about write a little bit more, and he says that people who say karuna karana, but these people have no karuna at all. So he's not the only one who is saying, but he is saying people who are going to Sripada, they always say karuna karana, but they are the people who have the least kindness. What does it mean? It's up to you to understand. I don't understand fully. But the monk says that actually they have the least compassion. And then he says things like that the Sinhalese people are the ones who make a lot of more noise there rather than the Hindus or Muslims or others who go to Sripada. So this is kind of quite interesting. I just found it yesterday and I want to share it with you, but you may want to think about it. Because the karuna kirima, or compassion, is the most important thing for Buddhism. It's the compassion. It's the way that we demonstrate that we are Buddhist and we have inculcated the Buddhist, the book here, palm leaf or the Puskalapota, the text that scriptures were written, and we have another book here. It's about Deegalle, one of the texts. Of course, the Buddha's words are all in these texts. But how many of us read this? But suppose that we read them, how many of us use that for our life? How many of us use this teaching to educate our children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren? how much Buddhist spirit you give to the girls like her. So this is something to parents and grandparents to think about it. Like, at least if you teach a verse like this, the kids who are growing up here, you will be cleaning up your path to nirvana. So I hope everybody understands what I'm saying is. So the Buddha's teachings are not keeping in these books, this Puskalapata and so on. No, Buddha was not a protector of books, no, neither bookwormer. Buddha wanted people to practice it. Do you remember? One day, a monk named Vakkali, Vakkali himself was very handsome, very attractive, very careful about his body and so on. He had good health. But he come to Buddha and sit and glance at him, and continuously his eyes on the Buddha. And Buddha said, oh, this young man, what's wrong with this man? Of course, in today's word say, that guy may be homosexual. See, that guy is interested in men or whatever. We could put all these labels. But when Buddha asks, why are you looking at me? And then he says that I want to see the Buddha. He used the word, I want to see the Buddha. I like to see the Buddha. And that's why I look at you. And then Buddha says, and he word the verse actually idiot also. Buddha doesn't, Buddha doesn't speak bad language. Buddha doesn't use bad words like us, vulgar language. And the worst word that Buddha would have used is the mugha, or it become mudha, or in Sinhala we call modaya. In English we call idiot. The Buddha used that word idiot. Look, this is not the way to look at me. This is not the way you are doing here at the sermon, or that's not the way to look at me. You are doing it wrongly. And then then Buddha says, yo dhammam passati, so mam passati. Yo dhammam passati, so mam passati. Yo yamek, whoever sees Dhamma, that person sees me, the Buddha. So that means if you see the Buddha's word, then you can see the Buddha. So Buddha is saying that don't look at my body and be mesmerized, my physical beauty, but if you want to see me, read this text. Look at them, try them out, practice them. So the Buddha was very clear that practice is very important. And that's what we are missing. How much do we try to integrate Buddha's teachings to our life? We don't have to advertise, but we should at least be example to these young kids here. So the Buddha is very clear. So here, I have only about 4.5 minutes. I have a lot of things to say, but I wanted to summarize here this verse that I said in Dhammapada. Perhaps it may be Kosal Rajuru, king of Kosala, and Buddha came and complained to the Buddha and said, look, I am very tired. And that's why. Oh, I overate. I ate too much. I ate more than what I need. I'm tired. And then Buddha said, don't eat too much. Eat little. Eat as the amount that you need, and then you'll be fine. And then he tried it out, and he got healthier, and came to the Buddha and asked, Lord, that's the way, Bhagavan, Lord, I am better now. I can move. My body is better, and I think better, I hear better. And then that report came to the Buddha, and Buddha at that occasion mention these 4 things. Now this is a good lesson for us as Buddhists. How much we overconsume water, food, clothing, accumulation of money, resources, and all sorts of things. Think about it. The moderation is the one that Buddha teach here. So the moderation is the one that Buddha doesn't say that you should not ignore your 5 senses. It's normal that we like nice things. But what Buddha says is that we have to be mindful. We have to be mindful. This word is important. Mindful. What it means, mindful. That means that we have to be aware. We have to be aware who we are. We have to be aware where we are. We have to be aware of what we are doing. That's very important. And if you're mindful, if you're aware of who you are, and then you will not overeat, and you will not overconsume, and you will not exploit the people who are vulnerable. You will not squeeze. You will not take bribes. You will not acquire your neighbor's land, or you will lift the post in your fences, or you will not write new deeds for your property. Because we have to think about what our priorities. Our priority should be reducing our attachment to these things, being moderate. We should have some comfort, but we should not overdo it. But if you do overdo it, your health become at risk. So Buddha point out these 4 things: having a good health, being happy, and then having trustworthy people around you smoothly put you on the path of nirvana, and you can have the enlightenment. And that's what summarized. So today, the Mr. and Ms. Harichandra Kirinde and the family and the friends gathered in Sri Saddhatis International Buddhist Center, and we think about Venerable Dharanagama Kusalamma Thero, and also we think, of course, we transfer merit to Venerable Kusalamma Thero, the founder of the Buddhist TV, but also our Nayaka Thero here is not well. Of course, he's better than he was a few months ago, but not, the first point, arogya, the health is issue. And we hope that he will get these blessings. And also all the monks in the temple, Venerable Dr. Hanupambala Mahinda Thero, and Venerable Sumana, Venerable Tissa, Venerable Dhammadasi, and Mr. Ananda, and we had Kapu Mahatya earlier here, Sumanasiri, and all of these people here, and all the camera people, Madhavala Mahatya, Sujit Mahatya, and all of these. We remember that, Ratnayaka Mahatya and all these people came here. All of these, with the merit that we accrue here, may our life be successful, and may no harm come to us, and may we succeed in life, and may the Triple Gem bless us, and may we have courage to guide the kids, at least to teach 1 or 2 words of Buddha Dhamma before they turn into 15, 13, and they are going to abandon Buddhism very soon, and the responsibility is in your hands, and we have to give the Buddha Dhamma, and that may be a big merit. So with this thinking, may we transfer merit to Venerable Kusalamma Thero. May people who have passed away, our relatives, parents, and all the monks, all of these, Venerable Saddhasa Thero, everybody accept these merits and become very successful. And lastly, let's try achieve nirvana, as the verse, Dhammapada verse says. The nirvana is the best gift, last gift, and let's have that. With that thinking, please say sadhu, and I'm going to conclude. Akasattha ca bummata devanaga mahiddhika පුඤ්ඤන්තං අනුමෝදිත්වා චිරන් රක්ඛන්තු ලෝක සාසනං ආකාසට්ටා ච බුම්මට්ටා දේවා නාග මහිද්దికා පුඤ්ඤන්තං අනුමෝදිත්වා චිරන් රක්ඛන්තු ලෝක සාසනං ආකාසට්ටා ච බුම්මට්ටා දේවා නාග මහිද්దికා පුඤ්ඤන්තං අනුමෝදිත්වා චිරං රක්ඛන්තු ලෝක සාසනං. May all of you be happy and well and succeed. May you have courage to live long and secure your health and achieve happiness here and now.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. The sermon, which was held in London, was conducted by the Most Venerable Deegalle Mahinda Thero. We wish the Most Venerable Deegalle Mahinda Thero good health and longevity. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to our sponsors from London, Mr. and Mrs. Harish Chandra Kirinde. Thanking everyone who helped telecast the program, we now conclude the Dhamma sermon, which was held at the Sri Sambodhi Vihara Buddhist Meditation Center in London. Theruvan Saranai.